Hello, and thanks for joining us today for our marketing office hours and our special guests from ClickDimensions. For those that may not have attended our webinars before, I'm Chad Collette, the marketing director with Ledgeview Partners. And as a user of ClickDimensions and marketing automation, I really know how important it is to take advantage of all the functionality that's possible, but also to know what's coming on the roadmap so you can really plan accordingly and adjust any of your tactics to plan, to utilize and roll out in the coming weeks, the months, and so on. Now, there's so many possibilities with marketing automation, and unfortunately, I see too often where organizations are not taking advantage of the tools that they've subscribed to and they have at their fingertips, and they can really be a great asset to them. But before I get ahead of myself, I just want to hit on a couple of those pesky housekeeping items. First, today's webinar is being recorded, and it's going to be available on demand at ledgewpartners.com after the live session. We also have everybody on listen only mode, but to optimize the audio experience. But if you have questions that you want to address, we really encourage those. So please put those in your question box, your GoToWebinar control panel, and we're going to communicate those to the presenters today. So speaking of the presenters, I'm excited to welcome Matt and Kevin from ClickDimensions to our little virtual marketing office today to share some great insight for users as it pertains to product reviews, updates, the upcoming roadmap, and really addressing some of the biggest challenges and questions that users see day in and day out. So Matt and Kevin, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Chad. Thanks for having us on. So as Chad said, Kevin and I are going to walk through some of the ClickDimensions functionality. Now our agenda, we do want to go over some of the product roadmaps so you can see some of the upcoming features and functionalities that are going to be released from ClickDimensions. But before that, we do want to go over some of the new functionality that has came out for our tool this year. So we're going to jump into campaign automation a little bit. This is one of our most used functionalities inside of the ClickDimensions tool. It's also how we automate a lot of the different processes inside of ClickDimensions. We're going to jump into our new survey builder. There's a ton of cool functionality in there, and we'll show you how we report on some of those surveys where we can see the answers, and also how we would go about exporting those results. And then lastly, we do want to cover our new landing page builder as well. This is a pretty new functionality from us, but it is super cool, and the stuff that you can build in there, it is really easy to use. It's a new drag and drop editor, so we're really excited about that as well. Now, with all of that said, what I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and jump into the live environment. All right, so give me 1 second here, guys. All right. So now that we're in the Dynamics sandbox, there is a ton of ClickDimensions functionality that you're going to find when you do move forward with ClickDimensions. But the first thing we want to talk about today is going to be the campaign automation functionality. So that can be accessed by going to the messaging section inside of your Dynamics environment and going to automations where we click on campaign automation. Now, if we want to start from scratch here and just create a new path for any of the marketing prospects that we have out there, what we're going to do is we're going to click new, and then we're going to title this whatever we want. So I'm going to call this our Ledgeview Partners webinar. And then I'm also going to have the ability to tie this back to a Dynamics campaign if I want to. Super simple. All you have to do is search for it instead of Dynamics. And then from there, we're going to be able to see this campaign automation data associated to that specific Dynamics campaign. Once I save this, it is going to give me the option to open this builder. And what we're going to do today is we're going to start from a blank template. We do give you the option to start from some existing templates that come out of the box with ClickDimensions. But one of the things to keep in mind with this functionality as well is that as you are building campaign automations, you have the option to save each campaign automation as a template, so you don't have to start from scratch each time. Now, there's a lot of different ways we can use the campaign automation tool, but one of the most common ways we see it used is for routing forms to individuals inside of your organizations. So how we would do that is we would grab one of these triggers. In this case, we're going to grab the submitted form trigger. And then we need to go down to our actions here and select the owners we actually want to assign to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab 3 different owners just to show you how we can select where we're routing this. Once we have that in place, all I have to do is drag these dots out to each one of these owner boxes. I can move them around to make them look a little bit nicer if I want to. But from there, you'll notice once we have selected more than one owner, we populate what's called a decision node. And this decision node is going to let us decide how we're actually routing this. So the first thing we're going to want to do is select a form. Now, whatever we are using to route this form is going to be important because we want to make sure that we're asking that question inside of the form itself. So for this example, I'm going to use a city to route this to owner one. So I could say something like the submitted form address city has to equal Atlanta. And then if I get that field filled out here and it is Atlanta, that's going to be assigned to owner one. Now you can do this for whatever field we're filling out inside of the form, right? So if you want to do it by region or by country or by state, that's absolutely something you can do. And you can also add multiple clauses for each one of these owners. But now that I have this, if I save and close it, all I have to do is search for one of the owners inside of Dynamics here. So I'm going to assign this to myself. Now everything coming through Atlanta is being assigned to me with this form. So I'll get a notification inside of Outlook that says I have a new, contact us or demonstration request or whatever the form is assigned to me, and then I can address it from there. Now, one of the things we'll actually do internally is we'll start marketing to these folks before we actually have a salesperson reach out. Now, inside of the email template builder itself, you also have the ability to pull in Dynamics owner information. So now that this form has been assigned to me, if inside of this email template, I've included the free marker code of an owner to say, maybe we're pulling that owner's email address as well as cell phone number, this person who submitted the form is going to have a good point of contact to reach out to because they will now have my information as well. So we're going to go ahead and send that email, give them that point of contact. Maybe it's a thank you for submitting the form. We'll tell them that we're reaching out soon. But from there, I can also start evaluating, what kind of actions they're taking, and then I can use that action to decide which path to put them down. So really what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to select one of your existing email templates. For this one, I'm going to use a contact us form. Now from there, I can do things like pull another trigger out. These triggers, when they're in the middle of a campaign automation, are going to give you what's known as a positive and negative path. And for an email interaction, I'm going to have the option to choose a specific link click instead of the email or just an email open. So I'm going to say, check this email, this contact us autoresponder, and I'm going to look for a specific email click. So for this one, I'm just going to use a click on the header, but it could be a link to a different offer or maybe a page on your website. You can use whichever link inside of the email that you want. So I'm going to say now, if someone did click on that link, I might do something like add them to a marketing list because we know this email is active. We know this person is interested enough to at least open and click on the email. And then I could do something like add them to a specific, oh, sorry, I already did that. And then I can do something like notify my team that this person is interacting and that we need to reach out. So I can notify an individual user. I could also notify a team if I wanted to. I could create a task for one of my CRM users to go ahead and reach out to this person. But it does give us that flexibility to start marketing to this person without actually having our salespeople reach out immediately. Now, on the other hand, if that person doesn't take that positive action, I can do something like send them another email and then start checking for that interaction again. So you can build this out as far as you want it to be built out, but it is going to give you the ability to start talking to these people via email or SMS before we actually have a conversation with them. It's going to make sure that we're responding quickly when we do get one of these forms in, and it is going to help us just from an overall bandwidth perspective from the marketing side. So this is a pretty common use case that we see for the campaign automation tool. But again, you're going to have a ton of flexibility in here. So we can build one of these off of someone doing something like visiting a specific page off your website. Maybe they click on a specific social post. You're also going to have the ability to manually add people to these. I see a lot of people also building these campaign automations around events because we can use the ClickDimensions functionality to say if someone registers for a specific event, maybe we put a wait timer in there to say, don't start sending them emails until 2 weeks before as a reminder. Maybe we need to send them login information. All of that can be done inside of this tool. but it does give you a powerful way to automate different marketing plays without actually, doing a lot of the heavy lifting on your own. So with that said, whoops, sorry about that popping up on the screen. If I did want to save this automation, you are going to have the option, whoops, it's actually behind this black box that we're seeing on my screen right now, but I can save this as a template so I don't have to start from scratch. I could just change the form or even the email if I want to build a similar campaign automation in the future. All right, so the next thing we're going to want to talk about is going to be the survey functionality. So surveys, we recently built a new online survey functionality, and that is accessible from the web and events section inside of Dynamics. So once I get to the web and events section, I can go into surveys, and then I could create a new one from right here. Now I do have one built already just to show you some of the functionality in there. So with this, what we're doing is a Troximo customer satisfaction survey. So if I wanted to access this, what I can do again is just go to the surveys, and then I'm going to be able to search for any of the surveys that I've previously created. So if I go search Troximo, you can see we have quite a few of them in here, but we do have them titled different depending on what we're asking. So I'm going to open up the customer satisfaction survey that we were just looking at, and then I'm going to jump into design. So once we open this up, you'll see the new survey editor. It does have a lot more functionality than our old survey editor had. You have the ability to just drag and drop different types of questions into here, and then you can just edit them from right inside of the tool itself. So if I did have, a different type of question that I wanted to ask, maybe it's an additional NPS question, all I have to do is drop that in where I want to see it, and then I can edit the question from right here. So I might, change this to, how was your experience with the website that you were using? But really, super easy. You can edit it from right inside of the tool. If we don't want to see this anymore, obviously I can delete it. But all of this is going to give you the ability to build logic into these questions as well. So one of the common mistakes that I see marketers making is they'll ask a question like, how was your experience with Troximo? And they might get a 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, one of these bad responses that we don't want to see. If we do get an answer like that, we don't want to follow up that question with what was your favorite part about working with the website or working with your representative? What we need to know is, what will we do better? So I would do something like, say, only show question 2 if the first question equals a certain value. So I could say, it must be greater than or equal to 7 before we ask what was your favorite part about working with us, or how likely are you to recommend Troximo to a friend or colleague. So this is going to help us stay on task. You are going to be able to see those individual answers tied to a contact inside of Dynamics as well. So we can see on a one-to-one basis exactly what everybody was responding. You're going to have the ability to customize the colors that we're using so that we can make it appropriate with whatever your branding is currently. And then from there, you are also going to have the option to go ahead and embed this into your website. So this is asking me to save this, and I'm sorry, Kevin, for adding a random NPS question in there to your survey. But once we save it, we can embed the link as a custom URL, or we can go ahead and put it into your website as an iframe or a widget. So you can answer these questions from right on your website. You don't necessarily have to send them a link directly to the survey. So once we have the survey built and we start seeing some responses come in, you are going to be able to see the submissions under the survey record itself. So I can see the campaign that this is tied to. I can see we have had 2 submissions come in so far. These were actually anonymous submissions. We don't have them tied to a contact or lead, but if they were tied to a contact or lead, you would see the name of the person that this was actually tied to. And then if I want to see this individual's direct answers, I can click on that submission, and I am going to be able to see exactly what they responded. So that is helpful. You can see how they answered each question, especially if this is a known contact or lead that we have an upcoming discussion with. We're going to be able to see what they were happy with, what they were unhappy with, and then we can address those questions on a call. Now, if I scroll up, if I want to see a survey report, this is going to show us the average answers for this survey as a whole. So I can see, what people were answering on average. And then if I do want to export these survey answers into Excel, I'm going to click this icon in the bottom right corner. And that'll show us all of these responses and the response percentages inside of Excel in case you need it in a CSV format. Okay, so the next thing we're going to want to talk about is going to be the landing pages. So landing pages, we've recently released an updated builder for this as well. I did build a quick one for this webinar. So that's going to be this Ledgeview Partners webinar that we're seeing here. But if I open this and go into design, you'll notice that it does look like a website page, right? And this is a very quick build for me. It took me, probably about 5 minutes. I am not a graphic designer myself, so someone on our marketing team probably would have made this look a little bit better than I did. But it's easy to make because it's all drag and drop. So you'll notice I have 3 different rows set up here. I did pull in an image for this one. I included a text box. I have a title image, and then I also have a form that is going to be automatically creating leads or contacts for us inside of Dynamics, depending on what we selected for the form. We do have a caption included, but really, if we wanted to expand this landing page at all we have to do is add new content rows. So if there was another, maybe bike I wanted to ask if people were willing to test drive, what I could do is drag this row here. And then for the content, I'm going to add a picture of that motorcycle. So I'll do something like drop an image block into here, and then I can browse that ClickDimensions library for any of the Troximo images that I already have inside of Dynamics. So I have this Troximo folder. Maybe we want to include this bike on the landing page as well. So I'll insert the image, and then if I want to add a description or ask if people are interested in taking it on a test drive, what I'll do is I'll go back to the content, and then I will do something as simple as add a text box in here. Now, once you're ready to create the text, you'll notice you have different font options. You can create the size if you want to. We're going to have the ability to change the color of the text. All of that's available. You can control the size of the margins if you wanted to, but it is super easy. And if you do go into settings and you want to add something like a different background color, you have the option to do that right here as well. So I could change it to blue. I think the clear looks better here, so I'll leave it on clear. But it is super easy to use again. And if I wanted to add a different type of content like a survey or that form, all I have to do is drag and drop that in, and then I am searching Dynamics for that piece of content that I want to use. One of the other really cool things about this is you can drop in custom HTML blocks. So we actually had a customer who had a flip book that they wanted to include on a landing page. And it's not exactly something that we can save in the ClickDimensions library. But if you have the HTML code for that, all you have to do is drop in an HTML content block. And then from there, I can copy and paste that HTML code, and that'll populate that flip book for us. Or if it is a slideshow or something like that that we want to include, it's absolutely possible with this new landing page builder. Now, this is going to be similar to the surveys, right, in that once you save this, you are going to have the option to go ahead and embed this link as a custom URL, or we can tie it directly to your website as a link or as an iframe. Generally, what we'll do though is we'll add maybe a custom URL to this to say test drive Troximo bikes. And then from there, as people are receiving emails with this link, it's not going to be embedded directly to your website, but we're going to stay on brand with the website so it looks like this page is part of it. You're also going to have a list of actions for this so you can preview it before we actually go live with it. But yeah, super easy to use. It's a lot more intuitive than our old landing page builder, so we definitely encourage all of our customers to start using this as much as possible. Now, with that said, I do want to go over the ClickDimensions roadmap while we still have time on this call. So what I'll do is I'm going to jump back into the slideshow here and then just pull this up on the screen so you can see some of the exciting new features that we have coming down the pipe. And Kevin, if you want to talk to some of this, I can go ahead and turn it over to you.
Sure, thanks, Matt, and hi, everyone. As you can see here, not only in the last quarter of this year, but going forward in the following year, our development and product team is quite busy. And, there are plenty of things that we have it broken out into specific email marketing components, campaign automation, lead management, and then there's overall platform and integration, new features coming, as well as our intelligent dashboards being covered. A few things I think that really stand out here around this is some ability to personalize outside. I don't know if you're aware or not, but currently personalization within an email template can only come from currently the contact lead account or the system user that is sending out the message. But there's going to be enhanced personalization features rolling out the beginning of or in the first quarter through next year, in terms of including additional entities into the personalization that would be linked to the actual recipient. We're also working on duplicate email sends, especially if you have contacts or leads in Dynamics that maybe have a same email address. We have customers that have those issues where there may be multiple contacts, multiple leads, each with the same email address. And currently the bulk email sends are only sending to one of those records. There's going to be the ability to do that in a different fashion so that you can actually send to the individual records. They're not grouped. There's going to be hopefully the ability to have additional fields that you can utilize when you're determining what is considered a duplicate record. So maybe it's not just the email address, maybe it's the email address and a first name. So that's a really exciting thing to include within the product, to have that additional functionality. Another around the platform and integrations that I think is really exciting, and I know our team is working really hard on, is rebuilding the SMS service, which is going to allow for additional functionality around Twilio. Twilio has a lot more capabilities than the product is able to recognize now. There's also going to be LinkedIn connector support for lead gen ads. We see that a lot, where customers are using LinkedIn a lot for their lead gen initiatives, and having recognition of ads related to LinkedIn, I think, is going to be a really nice feature that is coming down. It is in the pipe and coming down the road, as well as, and also like MS Teams or Microsoft Teams event support. As the API from Microsoft, the Graph API, is opening up further and further, we're staying on top of that. It's going to give us more visibility around your Teams related events. So that's a nice feature coming down as well.
Awesome. Yeah. And like Kevin said, they are busy. We've been adding a ton of resources to our product team over the past few months. So that team is getting bigger and stronger, and they are getting more and more aggressive with some of the features that they're trying to roll out. So we will be bringing you a ton of new functionality. I know one of the things a lot of people have been asking for is lead scoring enhancements as well. So we do have a new lead scoring tool in beta that is a lot more powerful than the one that we have right now. So be on the lookout, because that will be out soon. Now, a couple things I wanted to talk about as well were some of the questions that we got from Chad before we actually got on the webinar from his users. So we want to make sure that we're listening to the customers, and we definitely want to address some of these questions. So one of the first ones I got, and this is going to require me to jump back into the demo environment, so give me 1 second here, was how do we see statistics on a sent email? So if we do, I'm going into pin, but basically what you can do is you can go to your messages, search your email sends for the email that you want to check on. And then from there, you can jump into the email statistics tab. And this is going to give us some graphical representation on how well this email actually performed. Now, if you are one of our intelligent dashboards users, you do get these metrics inside the intelligent dashboards as well, which are filterable by the individual email send. But this is included with the core ClickDimensions product. So you are going to be able to see the overall performance as far as the number of recipients we actually sent this to, the number of people who interacted. You can see the open rate, the click rate. You'll see how many bounces you got if you did receive any. Email clients is going to show us where people were opening this, the operating system that they were using, as well as if it was opened on a desktop or mobile device. Conversions, I actually think this is one of the more important metrics that you're going to see, because really when we're sending these emails out, we're generally trying to take people to a specific action. Maybe that's, sending them to a link to your website, submitting a form or a survey. So you're going to be able to see the percentage of people who actually took that action that we're looking for. You're also going to be able to see which links they were interacting with the most. And then we can break this down by the individual recipient. So like I mentioned before, all the ClickDimensions interactions are tied back to the individual lead and contact. So, if we want to see specifically inside of this contact record which links this person is clicking on, I am going to be able to click into that and see those link clicks specific to Eva here. Click heat map, this will show you in the email where people were clicking. And then if someone does use your social share button at the bottom of your email, we will be able to track that as well. Now, I know we had a few other questions and we are running short on time, but I do just want to address them quickly. So one of the other questions that we got was, using a static list for marketing automation isn't always something that we are looking for from the campaign automation functionality, and that our customers do need to use dynamic lists in certain situations. So at the moment, you are not able to use a dynamic list inside of the campaign automation functionality, but it is something that our product team has been discussing quite frequently. So we are working on ways to bring that into the product roadmap moving forward. So that's one of them. And then another one of the questions is, how do we track responses to individual Dynamics campaigns from the bulk email sends that we're sending? So the email responses themselves, when we add a reply to email address inside of an email send, we are still receiving those responses. So, you can do it one of two ways, where we send on behalf of the record owner inside of CRM. If we do that, then all of the email responses from that email send are going to go back to that record owner. So you do have those inside of your inbox. Or, if we just set a maybe marketing or sales alias as the reply to email address, those responses will go there. Now from there, if you do have the tracking set up with Outlook, where we are tracking the emails back to individual contacts and leads, you can see those on the contact or lead entity. Now, from a reply to standpoint, as far as the Dynamics campaigns go, you would have to associate those manually, maybe entering a note with the replied email. But as far as actually seeing the responses, those are going to be going to the inbox. It is also something that we know our product team is discussing to get those into the campaign. So be on the lookout for that on our roadmap in the future. Now, with that said, I will jump back into the PowerPoint, and I know we are running out of time, so I will go ahead and pass it back to Chad for any closing questions.
All right, thanks a lot. Appreciate it, Matt and Kevin, for all the insight. Thank you everybody for joining us. And really, the goal of this is, you've made an investment in ClickDimensions, and we want you to get the most out of the solution. Keep up to date with everything that's going on. At Ledgeview Partners, we work very closely with the folks at ClickDimensions and want to make sure that you've got all the features, the functionality that you can take advantage of. And we're here for any upgrades you need, any training you might need, work with your strategy, anything like that. So my contact information is on the screen. We'll be sending this out in an email this week, so you can please pass this along to anybody else within your organization that may have value of this. And if you have any questions regarding ClickDimensions at any time, please feel free to reach out to it. We're here to help you succeed. So again, Matt, Kevin, thank you very much for joining us, and I want to wish everybody a great day.
Thanks, everyone.